Okay, so I apologize for the delay. Been having a lot of issues with my computer here. If you haven't noticed already, I'm looking to the side because I have two computers going on right here, an old one and a good one. Things got very messy. It was very shitty, but it looks like I will be able to do this live stream because we do have breaking news. It looks like Fulham, PSV, and Pepe have reached an agreement. The problem is the deal is not done, and we're not gonna know until tomorrow. So this is what's happening. Fulham has agreed to a 37 million euro package for PSV Eindhoven Ricardo Pepi. It's all agreed also on personal terms. So the clubs have agreed. Pepe has also agreed. The issue is PSV needs to find a replacement before this deal can go through. And the problem with that is the transfer window closes tomorrow. It closes tomorrow, right? You look here, and this is what a probably the most reliable journalist that we normally follow. I don't know how to say his name. It's like Rick Elfrink, something like that. And he says, and of course, transfer stress in Eindhoven again because of this message. But the fine print is that PSV wants a replacement, and that one probably can't be picked up right now. Unless a white knight comes along tomorrow, as reported. We'll find out tomorrow. So essentially what he's saying is the deal is done between Fulham, PSV, and Pepe. They've all agreed on the right numbers, but it won't happen unless PSV can sign a replacement. And you know what? There is an American that can be the hero, not the hero that we deserve, but the one that we need right now. Why doesn't PSV just sign Ajiman? Just take Ajiman from Derby County. Look, I still don't rate the guy, but if he wants to be a good American right there, go to PSV. They just sign him, and then boom, Ricardo Pepi gets his big move. Now, I'm going to say one thing about this Ricardo Pepi move. I talked about this before. Long term, I'm not too concerned about it. I think as long as Pepe develops, he can hopefully one day be at a level of a Raul Jimenez, even though he's still quite far from that, in my opinion. But let me go through a few things here, and I'm sorry that I'm looking towards the side because my computer's here, but the mic's not working, so I'm having to look at the other computer. Let me put this on screen so we can go through one thing. I want to go through Pepe's career because this is for Fulham fans too. Ricardo Pepi is a player that never had more than 20 goals in a season. That's never happened. Now, mind you, he is a goal scorer. He scores goals. It's a mix of lack of minutes when he played for PSV because Luke de Jong was the starter. This season, more because of injuries. But Ricardo Pepi never became an established starter for PSV. That's a fact. I know some of you are going to say, he's a starter right now. That's not true, right? In theory, he should be, but he never really became a locked-in starter for PSV. He also never really became a locked-in starter for the U.S. men's national team. As a matter of fact, right now, he's the second or third option. Balogun's number one with Pochettino. And there's a case to be made that maybe Haji Wright is number two. So Fulham is paying simply 37 million euros for a player that, if I'm not mistaken, Pepe is 20. How old is Pepe? Ricardo Pepi's 23. So he's no longer in the prospect territory. But when you look at his seasons here, like we're in Transfermarkt right now, this season he has 8 goals in 15 games, right? And then he has 3 goals in the Champions League. So this season he has a total of 11 goals so far. Last season, which was 2024-2025, he had 2 goals in the Champions League, 11 in the Eredivisie, plus 4 in the Dutch Cup, and then 1 in whatever the heck this Kukin, whatever it is. So he didn't hit 20. That is 17, 18 goals. The season before, 7 goals, 1 goal in the Champions League. That's 1 goal, 1 in Quafa, 9 goals. When he played for Groningen right before the 2022 World Cup that he missed, right? He didn't play the 2022 World Cup. He had 13 goals. With Dallas in MLS, 13 goals. This is a player that's never touched 20 goals a season. And he's 23 years old. And they're paying 37 million euros, right? 37 million euros. I think in terms of potential, that's fine, but it is a bit of an insane move from Fulham when you pay that much for a player that you're expecting to replace essentially Raul Jimenez. I don't know if they're going to have Rodrigo Muniz, right? That is injured right now, be the starter. But look at this. These are the most expensive U.S. men's national team transfers of all time in dollars. So Ricardo Pepi is 37 million euros. Euro to dollar right now, if we convert, 37 million would be 43.8. So $44 million is the transfer for Ricardo Pepi. He would be the third highest transfer fee of all time for any American player. Christian Pulisic's number one with $65 million. That was his move to Chelsea. Malik Tillman this past summer, he moved from PSV. Look at PSV. They're making some good business here with Americans, right? You add Malik Tillman at 46 million and Ricardo Pepi at 44 million. Americans are like rising the GDP of the Netherlands right now. Look at that. Look at those exports. If they sell Pepe, that's $90 million that we added to their exports. That is a net positive for their GDP. Look at America helping the GDP of the Dutch. Won't you look at that? $90 million that we added to their GDP right there. Sooner or later, Trump's going to add some tariffs to the Eredivisie clubs. Won't you look at that? Look at Americans. 90 million. What is even the GDP of the Netherlands? Let me see. Netherlands GDP. It's 1.4 trillion. Okay, so maybe 90 million is not that much. They have a big economy. They have a pretty big economy. It's still insane that like $90 million of exports are Americans if Pepe finalizes this move. But to my point, once again, Ricardo Pepi would be the third biggest USMNT transfer of all time. Now, of course, when you look at like Balogun being a little bit below, I think Balogun is a better player, so that doesn't make too much sense to me. But at the same time, we've seen Leeds pay 30 million for Brendan Aronson and 25 for Tyler Adams. That is a much better player, right? Or 20 for Tyler. Milan paid 24 million for Christian Pulisic. The Milan move, Pulisic to Milan, is looking more and more like a bargain, isn't it? Even though he's injured very often. Jeff Carey said, "You have a pretty profile." Thank you, Jeff. Not weird at all. Totally not weird. Rangav 248, thank you for the super chat, saying, "Not gonna lie, not a fan of this move for multiple reasons. Pepe is injured, permanent transfer, and no loan back, and desperate to replace Raul Jimenez, two CONCACAF players of the team. Also, Derby's fighting for promotion. Big Pat staying." So, a couple things. I think that Ricardo Pepi moving to Fulham over the short run is not super concerned. Sorry, it is concerning because he could even miss his World Cup spot. But everyone, before we continue, I totally forgot about this, and we have to put a quick word from the sponsor of this video. I'll talk about why I'm concerned about this move from Pepi and why long-term I like it. We'll be back very soon in 60 seconds, okay? Don't go anywhere. Drop a like in the video in the meantime. It's also, the last day of the month? It's January 3rd. It's actually February 1st, so rent is due. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big and final game of the season is right around the corner, this is your last chance to get into the football action before the next season. And by football, I mean American football, not soccer. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Personally, I like to play fantasy basketball and soccer, two sports I very much enjoy, and I like to do it because it adds an extra excitement to the game. It allows me to, root for a player or hate watch a player. And you know me, mostly I do hate watching. I love to hate watch. And Prize Picks is pretty easy to play. You choose 2 to 6 player projections for any sport. You then submit your lineup to check the entry fee and payout by selecting obviously the stats that you want that believe will happen in that game. Then you get matched into a group, and you can get real money by topping that group or by getting your picks right to win the minimum guaranteed. You can also play for free. That's important to point out with their free to play jackpot. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the promo code CLNS. So you will get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. That is CLNS to get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. Price Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, now listen to this. Along with Pepe being the third biggest USMNT transfer of all time, won't you look at this? And sorry, guys, I'm looking to the side because I had to switch my computer because the one I normally use is kind of screwing me over right now. But look at this. If you look at the record moves from Fulham, if you look at it here, their biggest signing of all time is Kevin that they signed last summer for 40 million euros. The second one is Smith Rowe from Chelsea from Arsenal, and that was in the 2024-2025 season. So at 37 million euros, Ricardo Pepi would be the second most expensive Fulham signing of all time as well. Third for US men's national team, second for Fulham. And let's talk a little bit about, let me go through the super chat, then I'll talk about my concerns about this move and what I like about it, okay? Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it's also not all shit. Among Us here, USMNT say, if y'all don't know, there's a Discord server in the description. Everyone's welcome to talk footy and grow the community. Yes, the link to the Discord is in the description. If you want to join the community just to talk about soccer, football, we're there, okay? Hopefully Spicy Jeff is behaving in the Discord. I heard sometimes he's gotten banned from a few platforms. I've heard also Spicy Jeff's gotten banned from Argentina. I don't know what he did there. Okay, so Ricardo Pepi, my concerns about this move to Fulham, that hasn't happened yet. I talked about it earlier in this video. For him to complete the move, PSV needs to sign a player, and I'll talk about it in a second, whether or not I think this will happen tomorrow. Short-term concerns. Ricardo Pepi very likely won't play much if he goes to Fulham this season. Raul Jimenez is the starter, so Pepi would at best come off the bench. Rodrigo Muniz is injured, but I'm assuming he'll be back at some point, and he's more proven in the Premier League at least. We've never seen Pepi do well in the top 5 league. He actually flopped in the Bundesliga for Augsburg, and then he went to PSV and has done quite well. He went to Groningen, then PSV in the Eredivisie. My point is, we're 5 months away from the World Cup, and Ricardo Pepi might barely play. Balogun is number 1 for Pochettino. Haji seems to be number 2. So it seems like he'll be fighting for a spot with Ajiman, which, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. You bring Pepi over Ajiman. I don't know if that's a no-brainer for Pochettino if Pepi's not playing and Ajiman is scoring a bunch of headers in the championship, right? Ajiman has a great head game. We've seen it in the championship. He's scoring headers all the time. The head game with that guy is very strong, and it's working very well. So I don't know if Pochettino will go with Ajiman over Pepi if Pepi's not playing. So short term, we could even see Pepi miss another World Cup. He missed the 2022 one because Berhalter didn't bring him in. So that's my concern over the short run. Now, you may be saying, what about long run? Are you concerned? I mean, look, anything can happen. He could flop. But historically, Fulham has been very good for Americans. They're patient. The fans like them. Tim Ream did well there. Anthony Robinson is there, and he's done well. Clint Dempsey, McBride. So historically, it's been a good place for Americans. And since they're paying so much for Ricardo Pepi, it's the second most expensive signing in the history of Fulham. I would say that I think they're going to be very patient. And if they're patient with the 23-year-old, I could see Pepi after 1 to 2 seasons breaking out and being a decent Premier League center forward. His ceiling would be Raul Jimenez. That's my opinion. I don't think that Pepi will become a better player than Raul ever was. His ceiling will be Raul Jimenez. And if he's Raul Jimenez's level, that is one heck of a player. That's an incredible player. And I don't know if you guys remember, Raul Jimenez is incredible right now, but before he had that horrible head injury, he was among the best center forwards in the Premier League. Easily top 8. He was very good. So I think that's the ceiling for Pepi. And as long as Fulham is patient, things can work out. Now, short term, if he arrives now, I would say for the next 18 months, Pepi will struggle. And then next season, he might become a starter for them. They might give him many more opportunities. And I think he'll struggle at first in the Premier League. But as he plays there, maybe 18 months from now, I can see Pepe starting to do very well. So once again, my short-term concerns are the 2026 World Cup. He could end up not making the roster if he's not playing at all. He's recovering from a broken arm. He's going to arrive mid-season. So they might not play him that much. Who knows? Even though they paid a lot of money, so they're probably going to want to play him a lot and develop him and get him ready to replace Raul Jimenez that will leave this summer. So once again, let me just put on screen the report. Again, sorry, I'm looking to the side because I'm on the other computer. Before we end the stream, just so everyone knows, this is what's been reported, right? That Fabrizio Romano actually said that Fulham has agreed to a 37 million euro package with PSV for Ricardo Pepi, and the player and the club have also agreed to personal terms. But then Rick Elfrink, a very reliable journalist there in the Netherlands, said that the deal still relies on PSV finding a replacement. Okay? This is what I think will happen. All right? I think the move will go through. I think it'll go through tomorrow, regardless of PSV finding a replacement or not. They might end up finding someone, maybe a loan, maybe a veteran comes in, or they sign, whatever. They'll probably find someone. I think the deal will go through. This offer of 37 million euros, I don't think PSV can get much more than that for Pepe over the long run. This is an incredible offer. Obviously, if Pepe does well in the Premier League, then this is a fine signing for Fulham. I do think they're overpaying a little bit. I don't understand why someone would pay more than 30 million for Pepe, because you're kind of gambling, right? When you're signing. And let me look here. What did PSV actually pay for Pepe? Because so this is the transfer. Okay, we got it here. Let me put this on screen so y'all can see it. Just so you guys see how this move is kind of insane of how much they're paying for him. Because I talked about this before. I'm a big Ricardo Pepi fan, but this is a player that never had a 20-goal season. Ricardo Pepi never became a locked-in starter for PSV. He's not a starter for the U.S. men's national team, and he never has become a locked-in starter. Yet Augsburg paid 16 million euros for Pepi. Augsburg. It didn't work out. So they loaned him to Groningen. He did well. Eventually, PSV signed Pepe for 11 million euros. So Augsburg took a loss. At the same time, I believe Augsburg did hold on to a future percentage of a transfer fee, so they'll get a portion of this 37 million euros. So the fact that Pepe never really broke through and became a dominant force in the Eredivisie or the Champions League or whatever, and there's still a team willing to pay 37 million euros for him, PSV should take it. They should absolutely take it. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad signing for Fulham. I think, like I said, over the long run, it should be fine. But the fact that someone is willing to offer 37 million euros for Pepe right now, if I'm PSV, I take it. And I would not regret it. I don't think they're going to get better offers. Anything above 30 is a pretty damn good offer. How do I know that? Like Atletico Madrid, they just paid 35 million for Lookman from Atalanta. A very top forward in the world. A very good player. Proven, right? Didn't he win the Europa League with Atalanta? Very much proven also in the Serie A. They paid 35 million euros. They paid less than what Ricardo Pepi is being offered. And I don't know Lookman's age, but he's not old. He's not an old player. They're saying Augsburg gets 20% of this deal. So 20% of 37 million. How much would Augsburg get? 37 times 0.2. They would get 7 million. So Augsburg would essentially break even from what they invested in Pepe. They would have like a 1 million euro profit, which honestly in the top 5 leagues, that's nothing. That is nothing. They're barely going to run a tiny little profit on Ricardo Pepi Augsburg. If I'm PSV, I take this offer because PSV will get 30 million. They'll be running almost a 20 million euro profit on Ricardo Pepi. That is wonderful for them. And for Pepi, it's a good challenge. He's going to the Premier League, the best league in the world, to a team that very much likes Americans, Fulham. We've had Bocanegra play there, McBride, Dempsey, Ream, Anthony Robinson is there right now. So let's see how it goes. I'm just going to say this, and now I can look on camera here. I'm just going to say this before we close the stream. And now I'm looking at you. See, because I was looking there the whole time because that's where the computer is, but now looking at camera. I think over the long run, Fulham is not going to regret signing PSV. And I also think over the long run, PSV is not going to regret selling Ricardo Pepi for 37 million euros. For that reason, whether PSV signs a replacement or not tomorrow, this Monday, I think the transfer will go through. I think it'll happen. PSV wants it. Pepe wants it. Fulham wants it. There's no reason not to happen, right? And even like we're going to sign a replacement. Well, they don't have Pepe for another month. He's not back till March, right? By then, they're going to be eliminated from. Hasn't PSV? They advanced in the Champions League? I think they advanced. And even if they did, they're going to be out by then. So once again, I think the move will happen. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Drop a like right now before you go. Just do it right now. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think? Is this a good move for Pepe? A bad move for Pepe? Let me know your thoughts. And tomorrow we have the USMNT Abroad episode. And that's all for today. Thank you, Prize Picks, for sponsoring this stream. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the USMNT Abroad episode. Bye-bye.